Well, for months, I've been wanting to do this video, and it's been a struggle. It all started back in July when my great-grandson Turtle had a virus, and we were up in the mountains. And this was the end of July, and he was very ill, running a real high fever and everything, and he started grabbing my wrist, my arms, and started scratching me. Well, school started in August, and it just kept getting worse. And I kept getting a lot of reports from school about him scratching, grabbing, his behavior. And his behavior just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Finally, around January or so, the last 3 months, it has gotten so out of control. His behavior, he's 7 years old, he's nonverbal, and that makes it very difficult because he's not able to express himself. But if you watched any of my videos and if you saw a lot of scratches and cuts and things on my hands, this is what he was doing. Now, I file his nails and I cut his fingernails at least 2 to 3 times a week, and it just doesn't seem to help. And he knows how to use his fingers to, to scratch, to claw, and it draws blood and it makes cuts. So I was getting them on my arms and on my hands. He never went for my face or my chest. This is all from the dermatologist for the last 4 months. So it wasn't him. He would pinch me. Not just me, but other family members, his grandfather, his aunt, other members in the family. You could just walk by him and he'd reach out and pinch the back of your leg. But he was hurting. There was something going on. And he was holding his head a lot. And then he'd hold his eyes and his ears and things. And he'd be just fine. And then all of a sudden, his behavior the aggressiveness was really out of control. So I finally, what I was doing was when he was really upset and everything, I would take my hands and I would kind of hold him away from me. Well, that's when he was really good about grabbing my hands and scratching me up. And I'm like, wow, what am I going to do? I just didn't know. And so I went on Facebook. My husband recommended a group, and it's an autism group. And I was expressing some of the things that was happening. And I'm like reaching out for help because I was at the point to where I just sit down and cry, or it just broke my heart that he was just hurting and that he was so unhappy. So they were very helpful and made a lot of different recommendations and comments. And we had an IEP coming up in February, and there was just things going on at school. And I wasn't sure if his behavior was something happening at home, whether it was his health, whether something was going on in school, new kids, new things happening. You just don't know for sure. So you kind of, play around with that, and you start getting a few different ideals. And I got so much information from all of the people that are on this autism groups, because they all are dealing with special need children, anyone who's on the spectrum, even young teens, adults. So anyway, had the IEP meeting, and then I took him to a doctor because I was getting pretty desperate. The doctor did not want to put him on any kind of medication. I wanted medication because I was really stressing out. I mean, it was like, oh, can't I have something for calming? But he, because he's so little and everything. So what he did was he put an order in stat with his insurance to get him into an ABA program for behavioral and aggression. I did make the phone call. They were booked up and they had like 21 families that were on the waiting list. And it wasn't the group that I wanted. I wanted a different group. And so I called the health insurance back, and they approved for me to go somewhere else by the next day. I made my call and everything. They've been very helpful. The only problem is because it's a new program going in here in our county, they don't have enough employees yet. And the building is not finished, and it will be done this coming July. And so they come into the home and do a one-on-one. Well, I really wasn't keen on that, but I was desperate, and I said I could do that. Well, there was a problem. They wanted 3 hours a day because their people could only work until 3 o'clock, and they didn't have enough staff. And I'm like, he's in a county class. I can't take him out of a county class that I worked so hard to get him into, and they're not going to let him leave at 11:30 and do an ABA from 12 until 3 o'clock. So anyway, I've kind of been put on hold, and hopefully this coming summer when they get the facility done, then he can go after school, and which would be 1:30, and hopefully he could go like from 2 to 5 or something like that, or he would have 15 hours a week is what the insurance will approve of, just for the starting basics, depending on them. So anyway, some other things the doctor had recommended, and I will be discussing those things in the month of April. April is Autism Awareness, Autism Acceptance month, and so, come out and support us. And if you have a family member who is autistic and that's on the spectrum, please feel free to share anything you would like to share. Anyway, let me go back and tell you what I learned to do when Turtle was scratching me and all of this. I thought, I got sores on my hands. The doctors even, antibiotic creams. I kept them washed. And I'm like, okay, I got to wear little Band-Aids. Well, I'd have 2 or 3 Band-Aids, and that would help, but he would always find that little spot between a Band-Aid or up on my arm. So what I did is I went to Target and Walmart and some other drugstores, and I found me some big Band-Aids. So this big old Band-Aid will fit across the top of my hand, and after I would pick him up from school, I would make sure that I came home and threw on some of my old shirts that I like to wear around the house. And I would put this Band-Aid on top of my hand here. One was covering up the sores and the cuts to protect them, because he would definitely claw in that same area. Then what I did is I took my shirt sleeve and I would kind of tighten it up a little bit, and I would use medical tape, and I would tape this as snug as I could to my wrist, and sometimes it would go over the Band-Aid. So I would snug it up to my wrist and everything, so when he tried to claw my arms or my hand, I was covered up. Then what I would do is I kept thinking, I got to keep my hands away from him. So we would give him really warm baths, showers when he was having an outburst. I'd let him stand there as long as he wanted to. He had his bubbles. It would help calm him. Of course, I at times had to practically drag him in there because he's clawing me up and scratching and pinching, and he's crying and he's holding his head, and he just was in so much pain and everything. But when he saw the water and everything, and the shower of the tub, he would get in, and that would help calm him down. So it was at the point to where we didn't want to look at him, we didn't want to talk to him, didn't want to go around him, because we didn't want to set him off. So we made sure he had his music, he had some games to play with and different things like that. Anything that would help distract him from being aggressive or upset. A lot of the times, nothing worked. he would be just fine, and then boom, and there we were. So this worked great. And then I kept thinking, maybe there's something I'm doing to upset him. Maybe because I was stressed out and I didn't understand and don't have the education that a lot of people have about children and special needs and how to deal with things. So I started doing some research and stuff. And then I would literally take off, go to my bedroom, and I would lock the door to give him that time to where he wasn't looking at me. He didn't see my face. He didn't see the pain, the frustration that I was having. And I did this so that he would calm down. And I learned that that really did work. His papa would be sitting in the rocking chair, and he would just come up and beep, pinch him. And so he had all these little black, blue pinch marks all over him because we're older, and you know how that all goes. So he would wear long sleeve shirts also too. Family members have been really helpful in everything, and we still have a long ways to go. But if you'll come and follow me for the month of April for Autism Awareness Month, it starts April the 1st through April the 30th. And I will be doing a lot more videos and some shorts and some longs about the life of an autistic family member and some of the things that we do and some of the things that's happening. I will give you an update report of what we found out for Turtle and what's working for us at the time. And the last 3 weeks has been totally the opposite of what he was going through. But share with family and friends, subscribe, hit the little bell, and please feel free to share any of your experiences. If you have any recommendations, anything that would be helpful, because this is all teamwork, not just within our family, but within the whole world. We all need to help each other out. We all need to accept that we do have special need children. And autism is a life that can be heartbreaking. It can be very enlightening. It can be a wonderful adventure, an experience, ups and downs. That's just the way it is. Thank you, and I hope to see you again and have you to come along on Turtle's journey. And have a wonderful day.